Hey everybody, welcome to Amateur Cast, where the show where we act like we know what we're talking about. My name is Sebastian Limon, and I am joined with Kolby Sebastian.
Yo, yo, yo.
And not Alex Papke, because unfortunately, Alex Papke has passed away. She did not pass away because of the coronavirus. She slipped on a banana peel and hit her head.
Yeah, she was standing at the top of a staircase. It was a very long flight of stairs.
How unfortunate. It was
I had
hilarious.
accidentally left my banana peel there.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the staircase, a piano and an anvil fell from the sky and landed on her head.
And birds were flying over the entire...
And then this roadrunner came in. It was wacky.
It said like meep meep or something. It was weird. No, in all seriousness, she wasn't able to join the episode for today. That doesn't mean she's out, obviously, for the entire series. She just wasn't able to join. Whether she'll be able to join in the future, we will see. Let's hope so. Whether it be the two of us or someone else joins, we will see also. But just wanted to let you know why it's just me and Kolby for right now. And also, it's clear that we haven't released an episode in quite some time. For numerous reasons, really. Not to get too personal or to get into details, but I guess I wasn't feeling it for a while. But it wasn't because I didn't like what we were doing. It was just more of different issues. And after realizing part of this made me happy and just need to shake it off, mainly because of the pandemic. I feel like the pandemic has really affected everybody in a different way. And for me, I really got fatigued for a long time. And it's like, yeah, no, you got to shake that off. So, and in terms of Paps, no idea. But yeah, let's see. Hopefully in future episodes, she'll join us.
Yeah.
But
life kind of happened, and we got off track for a couple weeks, but the plan is now we're back on to our bi-weekly schedule.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, like I said, in terms of us, if it's just being us or we have someone else, whether it be Alex or anyone else, we will see. But we will return to the actual podcast bi-weekly.
Maybe we'll just have a huge rotating cast of celebrity guest stars.
Maybe we'll have like 20 people.
Yeah.
And so...
You know, I've been emailing Christopher Nolan's agent to get him on the show.
Oh,
talk to us
God.
about yeah.
Okay.
He actually called me. He was like, "Kolby, it's me, Christopher Nolan. I will be glad to be on your podcast, but do you use any CGI?" And I was like, "We use a little CGI." And then he hung up the phone.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, I shouldn't have told him that.
Bro, what's wrong with you? You should know that Christopher Nolan's into practical effects.
I was like, I saw Inception, Chris. You did it too. All right.
That was so random.
He was like, "I'm a changed man. I made Dunkirk."
I'm a changed man. Okay. I know what I've done.
Yeah, so Christopher Nolan won't be on this podcast, but
not anytime
every
soon.
other Christopher will.
Yes. Yeah. Not Nolan. Maybe
Pratt, Evans,
Chris Pratt.
Hemsworth.
Christopher Pratt. Is that his real name? I don't even know.
We're gonna get Columbus on the show. both the film director and the sailor.
Sir, he's dead. Doesn't matter. Just see what you could do. Speaking of Christopher Columbus, we're going to be talking about Damien Chazelle.
Not much of a correlation there.
Not much of a correlation there, but...
Hey, Christopher Columbus kind of discovered America, but not really.
Uh-huh.
And Damien Chazelle made a movie about the guy who kind of discovered the moon, but not really.
Yeah, there you go. Oh,
Segue.
Perfect. Yes.
We did it.
Yeah, last episode we mentioned that we were going to be talking about the films of Damien Chazelle because of a particular show.
Oh, yeah. So Damien Chazelle, last time we recorded, was just coming out with his new show, The Eddy. And so even though we're kind of behind on it now, it's been a couple weeks.
A couple of months.
We're going to be sharing our thoughts on The Eddy, which is a Netflix miniseries that you can watch right now. It's written by Jack Thorne, I believe is his name. Mm-hmm. And the first 2 episodes are directed by Damien Chazelle, and then the rest of the series is executive produced by him. So we're going to be delving into those first 2 episodes today, because those are where we can really talk about Damien's style, and because we don't want to spoil the rest of the series for you, we encourage you to go watch it, because I think we both had pretty positive things to say about it overall.
Overall, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Overall watched the entire series. Kolby, which ones did you see again?
I'm still making my way through.
You say
I believe I have one or two left.
Okay.
But we're not going to be getting spoilers or anything today. No worries. We're just going to be talking about those first two episodes.
Yeah.
And kind of how they relate to Damien Chazelle's other work.
For sure. Overall, I think definitely his style shines most in the first episode. I think we kind of talked about this a little bit like the other day, how like all of the styles of like the films that he's made, like Whiplash, First Man, and La La Land, it feels like a culmination of all three into one, which I
Definitely.
really dug. Not just because of the jazz, but the handheld use like in First Man,
Yeah.
the use of music and drama like in Whiplash, and obviously like kind of like the balance between the reality of what happens and how you can escape through music like in La La Land, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I was going to bring up the same thing. Like, the first time I watched the first episode, it hit me like, this is a perfect, like, three-part mix of his big three movies, which, you know, it's got that very intimate authenticity of First Man, that jazzy musicality of La La Land, and that kind of gritty thriller style of Whiplash.
Yeah. Yeah, I really dug the first episode a lot. I've been waiting for the show for a while. For everyone who doesn't know, Damien Chazelle is like my favorite director working today. Not of all time. I would say that would probably be Martin Scorsese, but in terms of like right now and who I'm looking up to and looking forward to, it's definitely Damien Chazelle. Obviously, we'll get into detail why as the episode goes on, but I was very much looking forward to the show. But yeah, I it felt very Cassavetes in how the handheld shots of each. Just the intimacy of them playing the music. I love the opening shot, or it's this one long take.
Yeah,
It's
me
almost like the long take in Goodfellas when we go see the when we're kind of seeing the what do you call it, the club as.
And it's going through all the different gangsters and stuff.
Yeah, it's almost it's a great way to kind of introduce the place as like this kind of grandiose one long take that's not
Definitely.
too full of itself, not too showy, but it's like a great mix of introducing.
It keeps that very grounded authenticity to it because of how kind of close ups, that kind of soft focus it has, that very shaky cam.
Yeah.
And I noticed that that's very a Damien thing because the first two episodes do that like 100%. Like there's not one shot that isn't handheld.
Yeah.
But the later episodes are kind of shot more conventionally. So that's like a little flavor that Damien brought, I think.
And I think no. Apparently, his episodes are the only one shot on 16 millimeter.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
and because he's
That makes sense,
because Netflix apparently doesn't want to use film for their original stuff. And there's
Okay.
exceptions, of course, like if you're Martin Scorsese, if you're Noah Baumbach, and
they
if you're
let him do
Damien
whatever he
Chazelle,
wants.
you can do whatever the heck you want. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But if you're lesser known, like let's just say the Duffer Brothers with Stranger Things,
Right.
you're going to use the format, like this specific aspect ratio and shot on digital. I think red cameras, I have no idea. But yeah, I don't know if you could tell. I definitely could tell, like in episode 3, I'm like, this isn't film. But
I don't know if I noticed like, oh, this is digital, but it definitely had less of like a grainy film look than the first two.
yeah, it was a different texture. It was a different feel to it, for sure.
I think different episodes were fit well by different styles. Like I think the third episode was fit very well by the style it was in, where it was shot a little bit more traditionally. Still a lot of shaky cam in there.
Yeah.
But just because that was kind of less of a gritty episode, it wasn't. Most of it, at least, wasn't like in the streets of the nightclub.
Yeah.
Like the first two, it was mostly at the house of one character. And it was kind of like a party. That's a weird way of phrasing it.
Weird way. I was gonna say that was not a party.
Well, it kind of turns into a party.
It kind of does turn into a party.
But-
like I
which is what I
love
liked about
episode
it.
3. Oh my god, there's
episode 3 is
there's
very
a without really spoiling anything. There's a moment in episode 3 where they kind of the characters express how they feel through music, and you really feel it. Like you see it in their faces as they play, and how they perform, and how the audience kind of reacts to. again, I'm being super vague right now, but it's really like I've seen it twice now. And each time it makes me cry because like you
Yeah.
able to feel their emotions through what they play, through the piano, through the singing, through the drums, and it's like this is great. Like you are able to really. Like I because that's like something that Damien does in all of his movies. He uses music as a way, like it's like how, like music is very important in all of his movies in one way or another. Even in First Man, where
Right.
they use kind of like,
I mean, music is self-expression for Damien Chazelle.
yeah, for sure.
Like that's his whole thing. It's music is just it's not a physical manifestation, but it's just like an outward expression of feelings. Like in all of his movies, he uses the music that the characters play or listen to as a pretty like open door into what they're feeling.
Yeah, and it's just it brings out this crazy emotional response every time, and like I
Yeah.
think that's why his films feel so timeless. Even though like they have just come out recently, they still feel classic, and I think it's
Definitely.
a large part of it is because of the music that he uses.
Because it's so universal.
It's
Like,
very universal. Yeah.
music expresses feelings no matter what genre or time period. Like you get the mood that he's going for.
And it's classic music too, but it's not like pure 1920s jazz either. It's like
Yeah.
it's mixed.
It's not an homage to a specific era.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like trying to replicate it. If anything, it's like I would say it is paying more homage to it, or homage, whatever. It makes him feel more timeless by taking stuff that is old but bringing it to the new, and so that's why I feel like
definitely.
every bit of his movies feels so timeless in that way. Especially the first, like the few episodes that he directed. Like there's this great.
I think it took me a little bit into the first episode to be like, when exactly does this take place? And then somebody pulled out an iPhone, and I was like, oh, okay, sure. But it's like, that kind of speaks to how, I mean, it doesn't super matter when this takes place. Like, it's a pretty simple story that's kind of, I feel like, very universal.
Yeah.
But, yeah, everything he makes has this, like, really timeless quality to it. That's really admirable, I think.
Yeah, I really also love that the fact that it takes place in modern Paris, like in modern time, because a lot of like when people think of jazz clubs or jazz in Paris, they think of the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, you know what I mean? Like back in the day when it was like, you know, like Midnight in Paris, stuff like that, you know what I mean? But and there's nothing wrong with that. I absolutely love that aesthetic and like that time period, but it's a different look at Paris. Like it felt very like there are moments in this series where it's like, oh, that kind of feels like Mexico. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a different aspect of Paris that I never really, I don't know, pictured or imagined.
Yeah, because it's not romanticized whatsoever.
No, it like that. I feel like that's why the grainy episodes, like the graininess of the 16mm really added a different layer of like authenticity rather than the digital, which is a shame, but it's whatever.
It's a little grittier, but like it feels like the part of Midnight in Paris that you don't get to see, you know?
Yeah,
because Midnight in Paris is like it's fun. But it's like the whole idea is, you know, this guy who just romanticizes Paris gets to go back to this like golden age and meet the poets and all this. But like that's not what this is. This is jazz in a dying age, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
In a city that's kind of romantic facade is fading away, and I think that's what Damien Chazelle loves to do because he basically did the same thing with La La Land.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know, jazz in a dying age, and that does romanticize L.A. a little more than this would with Paris. But even that's they did a pretty good job being authentic with that one.
It was a good,
at least with Hollywood.
Yeah, it was a good balance between. Well, I mean, we'll get into it obviously, but it's a good balance between romanticizing it but realizing the reality of it too.
Yeah,
which I love that stuff. But
exactly.
Yeah, with the show though, I like the characters for the most part. I liked how Elliot felt very. I mean, he's nowhere near Humphrey Bogart, but it felt very much like Casablanca, where it's like we kind of meet him at his low point. And
that's a good comparison.
And he's always like, he gives like this kind of sinister glare towards everybody. He's not like despicable or unlikable, but it's almost like, to me, it's like a like a damaged artist, I guess, or something like that. Like I love stories like that, like especially like in Casablanca, where it's clear that there's a past with this guy, and you want to get to know more about why he is the way that he is.
Yeah, Elliot, I think, is a super engaging protagonist.
Uh-huh.
I feel like you really feel for him, and like, he doesn't always make great decisions, but you totally get where he's coming from, and you like understand his passion and what he's going through, especially in his relationship with his daughter.
Yeah.
And that actor is fantastic. I can't remember his name. Let me look it up. But I was just watching Moonlight last night, and I saw him, and I was like, "There's that guy. I know him from the Eddy."
Oh God, what's his name? Andre Holland, I think.
Yep, Andre Holland. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a fantastic actor, and while I have the cast pulled up, like Joanna Kulig as Maya, and I'm gonna butcher this, but Layla Bekti as Amira, and actually one of my favorite performances in the first episode is Tahar Rahim as Fareed.
Yeah.
He was fantastic in the first episode. He's so fun and charismatic. He's really great.
A great counterbalance between Elliot, who's a little more sour. And,
yeah.
Which is great.
I think his presence in the first episode really sets a good contrast with Elliot, and really like sets a precedent for the way all of the other characters kind of feel and act throughout the rest of the show.
Yeah.
I think he kind of sets the rest of the cast in motion, and then they have to keep on with their character development through the rest of the series. I thought he did a really great job.
Yeah, besides like the nice handheld graininess and obviously the music, I think what really stands out are the performances in the show. The performances are like really good in the show. Like I didn't think they were going to be that great. Like everything felt...
Even a lot of the really minor characters that don't kind of get the spotlight until the later episodes.
Yeah, like the band members who are not actors. Yeah. They're like actual musicians are good in the show.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah,
they're not
a
actors.
lot of them in the first two episodes are like just in the background, like they don't have lines or really names. And then later you get to an episode where they're the main character.
Yeah.
And you're like, where did this guy come from? I love him.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It's great.
It's great.
It's wonderful.
And Amandla Stenberg
is that
as Julie, as Elliot's daughter. Yeah, that's at least on IMDb. That's what it says. I'm probably butchering all these names.
We are sorry if you're listening to this somehow. Please email us.
Yeah, Amandla. Thank you for listening. You're really good in the Eddy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I got your name wrong. Tell your mom I'm sorry.
Tell your mom, please. No, but what do you call it? If I were to say anything that's weak of the show, it would probably be the thriller aspect of it. Like the actual personally, and like I didn't hate it or I dislike it. I just thought it was a big contrast,
like the kind of police investigation subplot.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Sure.
In terms of like,
it definitely filled the time.
Yeah.
Well, like it, but also I did kind of feel like each episode could have been shorter.
Mm-hmm. Like this definitely could have worked as a movie, I thought. Like I definitely could have, like the best aspects of each episode could have worked into like this one great movie called The Eddy by Damien Chazelle.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with you there.
But at the same time, it's still like great to see, like you mentioned earlier, like there are episodes that are dedicated to certain characters, and you get to learn about them, and you kind of fall in love with them, and you see why they are the way they are and stuff like that. And it's great stuff. But I feel like the strongest aspects of the show are the characters' dynamics between each other and the music that they play, and how the Eddy is kind of like this escape for them. How it's like this one place where they come together and they feel free to express themselves, to be themselves. And I mean, like I said, like how we said with Damien, how all of his movies uses music in a certain way. Again, this show uses music as a way to kind of free yourself, in my opinion. But as much as I could see this working as a movie, it's still cool to see it as a show. And
yeah, I think it works well as a show. You get more details than you would in a shorter movie.
Mm-hmm.
But you were saying, like, if I had to pick something weak about it, it would probably be that it can drag a little bit, like, in the middle of long episodes.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think because the episodes are long and it's a pretty, like, weighty, kind of heavy show, because of that kind of thriller subplot you've got going on, it's not a binging show,
no.
like most Netflix shows. it can kind of, when you finish an episode, I don't feel like super hooked at the end of an episode. Like, I've got to watch the next one now. I kind of feel like, all right, I'll take a few days off and I'll come back to this in a bit.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily bad, but it's just, the episodes, I think, could have been a little shorter, and it might have just been a more kind of dynamic show.
That could seem bad because, like, everybody's like, oh, you gotta watch Stranger Things. You're gonna binge it.
Right.
Because everybody, like, with Netflix, they have, like, it's not a good show if you can't binge it. You know what I mean? If it's not binge worthy. You know what I mean? And that's not necessarily true for the Eddy. As much as I did feel that, I had to binge it because it's Damien. I love you. And so, I mean, it's not that it felt like a task or anything. Obviously, I thoroughly enjoyed the show, but I can definitely see it turning people off. Like, this isn't for everybody. I can tell.
Definitely not. I think anyone who's a Damien Chazelle fan, who's liked his previous stuff, if you just like La La Land, this is similar to La La Land, but a lot darker.
Yeah.
But if you like La La Land and First Man or Whiplash or all three, then this is definitely for you.
If you like music and jazz especially, you'll probably get a kick out of it. And if you're definitely more into, like, avant-garde filmmaking, like, if you appreciate filmmaking, you'll get a kick out of it because it's very Cassavetes and very French New Wave, and how, like, they use the camera as, like, almost documentary. But
we should mention, if you haven't seen the show, it's in French, like, half of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like half French, half English, because it takes place in Paris. I feel like we talk about a lot of French stuff on this show. We've only had 3 episodes.
What have we talked about besides
Portrait of a Lady on Fire? Yeah. Ratatouille, but that's not in French. It's just in Paris.
That's still true. We've talked about a lot of things that take place in France, though.
Monty Python has a French guy.
If you can count that.
It's got a French character played by a British guy doing an accent.
And now the Eddy. And yeah. No, but gosh. No, I thoroughly enjoy the show. And oh my gosh, did you notice how the first episode ended?
What are you regarding specifically?
Do you know how Damien's movies end? This is going to be a spoiler, by the way, for all of his movies. By the way. No, but all of his movies...
We are going, as usual, we're going to spoil the 3 movies that we were talking about after this. Yeah. After this review, which is his 3 feature films.
Yeah. Without truly spoiling the first episode, all of his movies end with 2 characters looking at each other. And there's no... You know what I mean? Like, when you notice that? Whiplash. Yeah. Andrew and what's his name?
Wow.
Fletcher look at each other before the final solo. La La Land, Mia and Sebastian look at each other before they take off. First Man, Neo and his wife look at each other in the quarantine.
I can't believe I've never noticed that.
And the
Every
first
one of
episode,
his last scenes is just 2 people staring at each other
while
like just making eye contact.
Yeah, it's like, I guess it's totally lame, but to me that's like pure cinema. Where you can only you feel it. It's too.
Just like there's pure broken down, just like human connection.
Yeah, it's their performance, it's the framing. There's not a single word said, but you get what's happening because of what has been happening for the first 2 hours or first hour and a half. You know what I mean? It's like, because you get it, and I think that's why, like, a lot of his endings are so perfect. But, the first episode ends with Maya, played by Joanna Kulig, playing or singing basically the main theme of the series, right. The Eddy, and Andre Holland's Elliot looking at each other. I'm like, oh, you did it. Of course you did it. You did it.
Yeah, you did it again.
You did it again, boys, which is great. Yeah. I mean, the last actual episode doesn't end like that, which I was like, oh, that's too bad. But the first episode does, and I'm like, yes, I knew it. This is great. So I hope Damien continues that. I feel like that's kind of like a reflection of the ending of City Lights without getting into details. Because that's how City Lights kind of ends. Yeah. They look at each other. You know what I mean?
I wonder if that's an intentional thing. Like, he's like, I'm going to end every movie like that. Or if that's just where it always ends up. Because his 3 movies are pretty similar stories. And that is, like, the perfect natural ending for all 3 of those. Mm-hmm. So...
Yeah, no.
I wonder how intentional that is, or if it's just kind of like that's the kind of ending he likes.
That'd be cool if he's like, okay, I have this idea. How's it gonna end with these two looking at each other?
Yeah.
So
Damien Chazelle, I think, has a talent for endings.
yes, which obviously we'll get into.
The endings are like the best parts of his movies.
I think everybody can agree with that.
That's really hard for a writer. I don't know if there's another modern writer who's as good at endings as Damien Chazelle is.
Like he really knows how to, because I think every movie of his, like there's a sense that everything has been leading up to this moment, you know, and once we get there, it's not exactly what we think it is. It shows us what we wanted, and then what really happens is the opposite, and then we're left like that with the ending, with the emotion of what happened. Like it just kind of ends when you think about it, like especially Whiplash. Like,
but it doesn't feel, even though it is kind of abrupt, it never feels abrupt in the sense that it's like cutting off the story. It never feels like, wait, no, I need more. Like you feel like, wow, like what a satisfying conclusion, I guess.
Yeah, it's the best way to end it. There's nothing else that needs to be said, nothing else that needs to be shown.
Whiplash being the best example. I mean, I'll come out and say Whiplash has got to be my favorite, like, ending last scene of any movie.
I think even Guy and Madeline ends the same way.
Really?
Yeah, with two people looking at each other. Yeah, they do.
Interesting.
He's playing a trumpet to a girl, and they both kind of look at each other, and then it cuts to black.
Damn, Chazelle loves that ending.
Yeah, I guess he does.
I respect that. That's really cool.
If you're into Damien Chazelle, if you like jazz, if you enjoy cinema in that way, check it out, definitely. If you're not into that at all, you don't really care about filmmaking, you just want to be entertained, then don't watch it. I guess it won't be your thing. Maybe check it out.
I mean, try it, but I doubt it'll hold your attention.
Yeah.
If you're just looking for like a binge show on Netflix. But like with the jazz thing, like one of the things I love about Damien Chazelle is even though he's so obsessed with jazz music, like I never feel, because I like jazz music, but I don't like usually listen to it or like I don't usually like seek it out. But I think his movies are universal enough that like unless you hate jazz music, like you're gonna like them even if jazz isn't like your style.
I agree, yeah. And same thing with like La La Land and musicals. I think like if you hate musicals, I think you should still like La La Land. Yeah. Like at least that's what I've heard from.
Although for some reason, it seems like so many people who love musicals hate La La Land, which I don't get.
I do, because it's not. Well, again, we'll get into detail, but it's not the traditional musical. It's, if anything, it's kind of poking fun at it and saying, okay, this is what musicals do, and this is what musicals expect, like you expect from this. And no, we're going to talk about it, we're going to mention it, but we're not going to show it. We're going to do the reality of it. And
that's true.
Again, we'll get into detail when we get to that movie, but
yeah, for sure. But for now, what's your rating of the Eddy, Seb?
8 out of 10. Really love the show. Yeah, it's really, really enjoy it. The criminal, the side, so the thriller subplot, not as great as the rest of the show, but the last 2 episodes really hit it home for me personally. And yeah, really love the show. Well, what about you so far?
I think I would go 7. Maybe that last episode will be the nail in the coffin to give me an 8.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully. If not, it's cool. But
I think it's funny how we always give everything a good rating on this show, which makes sense because the premise is what are some of our favorite movies.
True, yeah. But
I think the only negative rating we've given is Onward, and even that was like...
That wasn't even like a 1, but it wasn't good.
Yeah, that wasn't bad. Maybe we should do an episode for our favorite trash movies.
We will. We will. Don't worry. We're not
our favorite terrible movies.
We're not complete, like... I mean, don't get me wrong. We love movies, obviously, but we're not, like, every single movie's good. No, there are bad movies out there, okay? No, but yeah. Great show. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I can see myself seeing it again someday. But speaking of jazz... actually, I wanted to mention Guy and Madeline a little bit, like a minute or two. Right. For those who haven't seen it, it's his very first movie, technically. He made it in college. It was his thesis. Well, it was his thesis from Harvard that he made.
And no theatrical release, right?
I think like some screenings at like Sundance and stuff like that, but not like an actual. Yeah, exactly. Release. It wasn't like that. But
did you just say that Damien Chazelle went to Harvard?
He went to Harvard. Yeah.
He studied film at Harvard?
Yeah. Can you do that?
Huh.
Yeah, that
I
guy's
didn't
that
know
guy's
that.
smart.
Yeah,
Harvard out of all the schools. It's crazy.
Harvard. I didn't even really know that Harvard had like a film
I
program.
didn't
I
either.
mean, I I guess any school has like a film major, but
But you don't go to Harvard for film. You
no.
know what I mean? You go to USC. You go to
Yeah, USC or
Chapman.
UCLA or yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, but no, yeah, it's a cute basically epilogue to La La Land. It's a musical. It's a very intimate, handheld, shaky cam, very much shot like how the Eddy is shot. Only it's in black and white, and it's a musical basically about this couple, this guy who's named Guy or I guess, who's a trumpeter, and Madeline, who's I think she wants to be an actress, but I'm not too sure. But basically, they kind of break up in the beginning, and they're meeting other people, and then they kind of realize they're still in love and stuff like that. And obviously, Damien also loves using stories of love, or I guess relationships, mixed in with this
Yeah, kind of with a backdrop of jazz
jazz music
and acting and just like aspirations for fame, kind of.
yeah, like his
Just
movies
like artistic
are very
expression.
much genre style. Like the styles are very genre, but the stories are very real and honest, which I love.
Yeah.
So again, without getting into the spoilers, it's a cute movie. It's his weakest one, but it's not bad at all. I would probably give it overall like an 8 out of 10. I really love the movie. It's like
And it's all in black and white, right?
it's in black and white. It's shot on 16 millimeter. It feels intimate, but it's like the music's great. It feels very classical. Justin Hurwitz did the music actually. Like they met in college apparently, and that's where they
I
kind
love
of
that. There's so many like pairs of like directors and composers that like stick with each other because they're friends and they met when they were super young. I love that.
yeah, like not just like composers, but like I mean like any like a collaborator, like screenwriter or actor,
yeah,
like
that's true.
Sam Raimi
But
and
there
Bruce
seems to be
Campbell.
a specific pattern with composers, which I think is funny. Like,
Yeah.
did you know that Sergio Leone and Ennio
Yeah.
Morricone went to
Elementary, right?
elementary school together?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Rest in peace, Ennio Morricone.
Oh yeah, R.I.P. Probably the greatest composer of all time.
Yeah, my personal favorite composer of all time.
Yeah.
But yeah, to get back to Damien Chazelle.
Yeah, Guy and Madeline's a cute movie. I recommend it. I think it's on. You can buy it on DVD on Amazon or something, or you can even go to like online and find it. But it's like one of his movies that he made in college. It's not like Whiplash where you can buy it or rent it or on.
Right. And even Whiplash was super low budget.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. So we just wanted to talk about his three major features today. We're not going to do kind of our normal like here's my pick thing because there's only three.
Yeah.
And we always do 3 episodes, so we're just going through them. I think in order that they came out.
Yeah.
Which means we will start with Whiplash from
Yes.
2014, starring Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons.
And
God, I love that movie.
I mean, what can you say that hasn't already been said, right, about Whiplash? I mean, in terms of word of mouth, because that's how I heard about it. I didn't see any trailers or anything. I've just heard, oh, there's this movie called Whiplash. You need to watch it.
Yeah.
And
But I don't know if it was a big commercial success. I don't think it did super well. I mean, well for such a small budget movie.
yeah, obviously it wasn't the highest grossing film of the year, but I think it was the one everybody saw that everybody loved. You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of someone that sees this and think, oh, that sucked.
Sure.
Honestly, like it's so entertaining.
It's really good, and it's in my top 12, maybe top 10 favorite movies of all time.
For sure.
Personally, it's my favorite Damien Chazelle film. I think J.K. Simmons' performance in this movie is one of my favorite performances in any movie.
It's scary.
I'd say
terrifying.
it's up there with Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse.
That and
As far as recent performances that have been like groundbreaking.
oh, for sure, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, it's genuinely terrifying.
And funny. It's like a weird mix of him being
It's
like
true. I mean, yeah, there's funny in it, and there's like genuine heart in it. Like there's scenes where he comes off as really genuine,
oh yeah.
but
it's
then
great.
all of a sudden he snaps into legitimate like sociopathy.
Yeah, like a freaking monster. It's great.
Yeah, it's crazy, and his dichotomy with Miles Teller is like a perfect reinforcement of just the movie's theme of like what's more important, like success or mental health. I mean, how
Yeah,
far are you
like,
willing to go to achieve your dream?
and I think all of Damien's things have that question.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like whether
Definitely.
it be how far are you willing to go to the moon? How far are you willing to go to become an actress or
own a jazz
own a
bar
jazz club?
or
All
whatever.
these.
Yeah. Every one of his movies is about people who have a really clear goal, and then they learn over the course of the movie that if they want to achieve that goal, they have to sacrifice something, and it's
Yeah.
usually their relationship. In this movie, it's his mental state.
Basically mental health and is like
Yeah.
just his ability to be a normal person. I think
Yeah.
at the end of the movie he basically becomes J.K. Simmons.
I think so too. And there's an interview with Miles Teller where they asked him, where do you think your character goes after this movie? And he was like, I'm sorry, this is such a bummer answer, but I think he kills himself.
Yeah, like saying like he died of cocaine or something, or like died of
Yeah,
drugs.
something like that. Like he overdosed.
At like 32
By the
or
end
something
of
like
the
that.
movie, yeah, by the end of the movie, J.K. Simmons breaks him down. But in doing so, makes him the success that he always wanted to be.
Yeah,
It's brutal.
it's absolutely brutal because, I mean, there are a lot of aspects of this that I relate to, especially the fact that dinner scene, especially when he's
Yeah.
how nobody takes his drumming and the art and his passion seriously, except for sports. Sports is cool. That's where they're gonna go. And as someone who has never been sporty, as someone who has never really cared for that, and has always been a guy who's been into arts, and I've kind of seen how people look down on those people, like myself. That moment was like super satisfying for me.
Yeah, that's a very, very relatable scene, and it only drives his character's motivation more to become a great drummer.
Yeah, yeah. But like that crazy quote when he says, "I'd rather be dead at 30 and have everybody remember me than be sober at 90 have nobody remember who I was." And it's like,
Yeah,
geez.
I mean, they're talking about Charles Parker at the dinner table, saying, why do you want to be Charles Parker? And he's like, because we're talking about him at this dinner table.
Yeah, like
That
he had no
shows-
friends, but
Yeah,
we're still talking about
the
him.
fact
People
that we're
remember
talking
him.
about him shows what an amazing musician he was.
Yeah, and also like stuff of like, what does success mean to you? Some people think like, some people for success is, oh, I have a family, I have a wife or a husband and kids, and to me that's success. That's good. That's fine. To some people, I want to have a business and be all by myself and all that. Like that's fine. And here, I guess, it's just to be remembered. Like at least
he
for
wants to leave a legacy. He wants to do
and
something.
that's, I mean, that's fine also. But I guess the kind of point of the movie is to show how dark that can get, I guess, or just how
Yeah.
if there's a line to cross. They even ask that too. Like there's a moment where Miles and JK are at a club, and he asks, "Is there a line of like trying to push someone and excluding them from being the next Charlie Parker?" And he's like, "No, there is no line because the next person would not be discouraged." You know what I mean? It's like,
I kind of think that's what the entire movie is about, is Miles Teller trying to find the line.
Yeah.
And I don't think he finds it until he realizes he's already crossed it and become ruined.
Yeah, it's insane.
And he has to give up his relationship too, but it's a much less of a subplot than it is in La La Land or First Man. But he has a girlfriend who he goes on a couple dates with early in the movie, and eventually he becomes a jerk to her. And
Basically,
he breaks up with her, saying, I need to achieve my dream of being a musician, and you're gonna hold me back.
Yeah, he's basically saying, "You're in my way."
Yeah.
Like, what a jerk.
And he's trying his best to be genuine. Like, he's trying to be honest with her. And you can tell, like, his intentions are good, and he doesn't like saying this from Miles Teller's performance, but
Yeah.
he honestly believes, because of Fletcher, because of J.K. Simmons' character, that this is what needs to happen. If he wants to be Charlie Parker, he needs to let go of everything except for drumming.
That's crazy. I don't know. And at that point, you can like, I feel like you'd be worried of like if this character is likable at this point, but I don't know. It's almost like you kind of feel bad because you kind of want him to succeed, but you don't.
it's weird because it's kind of a downfall story and a success story at the same time.
Yeah.
He has success as a drummer, but he loses his
Everything.
he loses who he is in the process.
Yeah.
I just realized that the whole time we're talking about this, I'm sitting under a big Whiplash poster in my room.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's funny about it, little callback to earlier, it's in French.
Oh, it is.
That wasn't intentional. I just
Enjoy.
ordered it on Amazon without reading it, and then when it came, I was like, this is in French.
Receive un duel
Un film de Damien Chazelle.
starring J.K. Simmons.
Are you able to see it right now on this?
A little
on this
bit,
call?
yeah.
Oh.
That's
Yeah.
great. I love it. No, but gosh, what else can we say? Like, I also love not that many. I mean, I feel like when it comes to first viewings and like great movies, there's like, especially this one, it's like, oh, J.K. Simmons, the music, the ending, like that's what you're gonna get out of it. But like after like seeing it multiple times, you see like other little things that you begin to appreciate. And I don't just mean with this movie. I mean like with any of your favorite movies. Like here, like there's a great moment when Miles Teller asks out that girl that he's gonna go with. Like it's such a great little moment.
With the chocolate covered raisins.
No, no. The moment when he actually asks out Nicole at the theater, and then he's like, "Would you ever want to go out with me, like ever?"
Right.
And she's like, "Please go away." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And she's like, "I'm kidding, I'm
Oh,
kidding."
yeah,
And you
and
like that
she's like,
great
"No, I'm
little,
messing with you. Come on."
yeah, like I'm messing with you. It's like a great. It feels so genuine and feels
And he just
so
takes her
good.
to this like little kind of dinky pizza joint.
Yeah, but they connect.
I like
It's
that.
great. Like when she puts
Yeah,
her foot on his
definitely.
foot, it's great. And
It's that kind of like raw human connection that Damien Chazelle really likes to explore right before destroying your heart.
yeah, basically.
He gives you like this little droplet of like, isn't this cute? Now it dies.
Yeah.
Um,
No, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's a. Gosh, do you have anything else to say about Whiplash?
I mean, we mentioned it, but that ending is just,
It's
I
amazing.
can't. The direction of it, the editing of it is freaking phenomenal. Both performances.
Yeah, Whiplash is one of the best edited movies I've ever seen. It did win best editing, but no, I think it should have won like screenplay, maybe even picture, because I love Birdman. I adore Birdman, but like,
Oh, this
Whiplash.
lost to Birdman?
yeah,
Oh, come on. Come on.
I don't know. I love Birdman. I understand why it won, but Whiplash is going to be remembered. It's already classic. You know what I mean? Like it's already a modern day classic, but
And it's more, like we were saying before, it's more universal by far.
yeah, I think so. But yeah, not to put Birdman down. I absolutely adore that movie. It's amazing. But Whiplash was my personal favorite. But yeah, that ending. I mean, like I said before, the whole movie was leading up to this moment, and
Literally, yeah.
and we get to the point, and then he goes up to him, and J.K. goes up to Miles and says, "I know it was you," and basically he's there to sabotage him. So that's what I
But
mean.
then they
Like,
kind of accidentally end up.
yeah.
I mean, not working together because Miles is trying to, spite him by being the best drummer, but then JK turns around and you see on his face, like, I've done it. Like, I've achieved what I wanted.
Yeah.
I've made my apprentice into a great musician.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like that's what I mean when I said like everything has been leading up to this moment, and then everything falls flat when he basically humiliates him. And you think
Yeah.
that's it, the movie's gonna end like this, and then he goes back and does that amazing drum solo, and that you're getting the ending that you wanted.
Yeah, and he reclaims that audience that's,
Yeah.
like, been taken from him by JK. By Fletcher.
Yeah, and then at the end, before it completely finishes, you get that great. I like to call it the Giselle gaze between Miles and
Yeah.
and J.K.
Zoom in on both their eyes.
Like the first time you watch it, you think like, "Oh, I have respect for you." Oh yeah. But the second time, it's more like, "I have found my Charlie Parker."
Yes.
Stuff like you know, like I feel like the first time you watch the movie, for me it was at least like this guy, like Miles was basically just trying to gain this teacher's respect. But upon third, 4, 5, 6, 7 times seeing it, you realize like, no, I think J.K. is kind of doing this deliberately, so he can have his own Charlie Parker, so he can, because in the beginning of the movie he sees the potential in him, and he knows the drive and this young kid, and so he's gonna push him. He's not doing it because he's a jerk. He's doing it to get that pleasure of being the teacher who brought up the next Charlie Parker. And it's crazy how you can kind of see that upon a second or a third viewing.
Yeah, but then at the midpoint of the movie, Fletcher gets that phone call that one of his previous students has killed himself.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of driven crazy by how obsessed he became with music.
He was saying that it was an accident, but it was revealed that he killed himself.
It's revealed later that he actually killed himself. And that serves as, like, this kind of dark forecast to both Fletcher and Miles Teller's character, I think Josh is his name, of, is this the road I'm going down, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that guy, kind of his story very much reflects mine. It's not Josh, it's Andrew.
Okay.
I don't know why I said Josh. Andrew's thinking, is this where I'm going to end up too? And according to Miles Teller, it is. But,
yeah. I feel like that's what happens too, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's such a dynamic movie.
Yeah.
It's so memorable.
I feel like I can show this to anyone and anyone will like it. You know what I mean? It's like you said, it's very universal in that way.
I was about to say it hits you like a truck, and then I realized that's not great phrasing.
Well, like, he definitely gets hit by a truck in the middle of the movie.
He gets hit by a truck in one of the scenes.
Yeah. Jeez,
and that scene does hit you like a truck, because that's one of my favorite scenes. I mean, it comes out of nowhere, but in the perfect way where you're like, wait, what? Like,
yeah.
And it kind of goes black for a second, and your heart is pounding. You're literally on the edge of your seat. Like, what is gonna happen? What is gonna happen? What is gonna happen? And he gets to the concert, and
he's all bleeding.
It's a mess, and it's terrible. He's bleeding all over the drum set.
Tells him you're done.
And then he attacks Fletcher.
Yeah, he attacks him.
And that's, like, one of the best all is lost moments in any film.
The end of Act 2, basically.
Yeah.
And, yeah, great movie. You have anything else to say about it?
I think we've really covered anything. Just that it's really one of my all-time favorites, and I really that's just a movie that means a lot to me. Oh, definitely. It was one of the first few that blended genre and, I guess, film together. Like, Parasite wouldn't be another great example of, like, it's a total thriller genre, but there's so much you can get out of it. Yeah, it's also got that kind of satire, that comedy of manners. Where it's like a movie you can recommend to anyone, and I can't see anyone, like, disliking it at all. Because it's just so well made, and it's so entertaining, but at the end you kind of still think about it. It's not like, not to downgrade Spielberg's films, because his films are more escapist, you know what I mean? They're well made, but they're like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Fantastic movie, but it's more of an escapist movie where you just kind of don't think about politics, think about how terrible life is. That's kind of what it's meant to do, is be that kind of pure escapism that Spielberg grew up with. Whereas, like, Whiplash or even Parasite, it's like, it's presented like a genre film, but there's still things in it, like the themes of success, the themes of... it really leaves you with something to think about for a long time if you watch it. Which I think, personally, are, like, my favorite type of movies to either hopefully make someday, or, like, the movies that really connect with me the most. But I don't really have much to say. We already said it. Great movie, fantastic film. If you haven't seen it, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. We already spoiled it for you. Oh wow. Yeah. But yeah, I also give it a 10 out of 10. Amazing movie. One of my favorites. One I can watch anytime. Like, literally, if it's on, I'll finish it. It's great. It's absolutely amazing. Speaking of amazing, his next film is La La Land. That's right, the 2016 pseudo Best Picture winner. Oh no, the non-Best Picture winner, but the one that won Best Picture was Emma Stone, right? What? Sorry? Like, didn't Emma Stone win Best Picture? It was Moonlight. No, I know, but the card said Emma Stone, La La Land. Remember? Oh right, yeah. That's so weird. How there was two cards. That's why I think I got confused. That's why. That's why Warren Beatty. Yeah, Warren Beatty. Yeah. What?
Who did they play? Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah, that's right. Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, and they gave him the wrong envelope that was for Best Actress, so he thought that was funny. That was a great 10 seconds when everybody was celebrating.
La La Land.
And then when you look in the background after they say it's Moonlight, Damien Chazelle looks like so pissed, and Ryan Gosling is just laughing.
He's just laughing, yeah.
He thought it was so funny.
No, but La La Land is Damien's is technically his third movie, but is his second theatrical film. And it's from 2016 about an aspiring actress named Mia, played by Emma Stone, and an aspiring jazz pianist, club owner named Sebastian, played by Ryan Gosling. And they basically meet and fall in love in the City of Stars. And it's a musical, but it's not the traditional...
A big kind of homage to Golden Age musicals.
Yeah.
While also, like you said, kind of providing some,
some
new modernization
commentary
of that. Kind of new, fresh commentary on that.
Yeah.
But I do think it is a love letter to those more than it is.
Yeah, it's definitely playing homage to it, and it's like it's clear that it's influenced by it in the presentation, but it's not exactly trying to be one of those movies either, I think. But this is my personal favorite film of Damien Chazelle for many reasons. But yeah, Kolby, what do you have to say about La La Land?
I mean, we talked about it a little bit in the first episode because we were kind of comparing it to City Lights. And we talked about how much me and you both kind of fell in love with it the first time we saw it. In regards to the kind of Golden Age musical things, it's interesting that there are times in this movie that it takes very directly from like classic musicals. Like the ending sequence is kind of not ripped off, but kind of lifted directly from An American in Paris.
Yeah.
But given like this new kind of more modern twist that is a better reflection of La La Land's story. And it's because in American in Paris it is a big happy ending, right? Mm-hmm. And in this, it's kind of a big imaginary happy ending that precedes the actual ending, which is heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking and honest and awesome. But
so it's almost like it's saying that kind of Golden Age musical like doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, basically.
You can't have it both ways. You can't become successful as an artist and keep this happy relationship. Like, you have to choose one, and they both choose success.
Yeah. And also, is it worth it? You know what I mean? Like, is that what you really... Because at the end, I feel like Ryan isn't too happy. I get the sense that... I mean, he's alone.
I think both of them are artistically fulfilled, but I think they long for each other.
Yeah, especially when they give that smile at the end. When, But I feel like that smile was more like they're happy for each other. They're happy for what they had and for what they gave them. For what they gave each other, which is basically an extra push for their success. And although the relationship is done in practical terms, that love is still there. You know what I mean? Which I find more romantic and more honest rather than a big wedding at the end and then riding into the sunset.
Right.
Which they give you that, but...
And then they get in a red convertible and, like, fly into the sun.
Yeah, basically. Fly. Oh, my God. Grease. I love that movie. But, yeah, for me, at that point, when I watched it, it was in 2016 when it came out. At that point, I kind of wanted to make, like, horror films. Like, I already explained this a bit, but I basically just was into gritty, bloody, gory, Sam Raimi,
Evil
Quentin
Dead.
Tarantino, all these movies. And not that those are bad, that was the kind of person and kind of movies that I wanted to make only. And so when I heard the buzz about La La Land, at that point, it won all the Golden Globes. A lot of my friends had seen it.
It swept the Golden Globes. It won everything it was nominated for, I think.
Yeah, it won 7, which is the most for any movie at the Golden Globes. It's crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Had the most nominations at the Oscars, but not the most wins.
Yeah. I think, equal nominations with, like, Titanic and All About Eve.
Right.
No, but, so when I watched it, I was just like, oh, wow. Movies could end like that? Like, movies can be like that still to this day? Like, I was immediately transported from the opening with, like, the long take and Another Day of
Yeah.
Sun and in the freeway.
I was watching the director's commentary track recently, and they were talking about how they thought they were going to have to cut Another Day of Sun.
You imagine?
Because, I mean, yeah, they were saying, they had filmed it, they worked really hard on it, but they thought they needed to leave it on the cutting room floor because, it doesn't really introduce the characters or, like, the story in any way. But what it does do is, like, set the tone so perfectly and, like, tell you this is the world we're in.
Yeah.
And it immerses you really fully in that world.
For sure. And if you don't like that, then you can leave. You know what I mean? Like, this is a musical, and we're going to be singing and dancing.
That opening sequence. I think it's
and
great.
if you don't like it,
it's also,
leave. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also a big love letter to Los Angeles, which is what the whole film ends up being.
Yeah, to the point where, like, at the end of the song, you kind of see L.A. in the far away, almost like the Emerald City in The Wizard of Oz, something like that.
Yeah. But honestly, I just can't imagine cutting that sequence. I mean, it's so excellently directed.
Yeah.
Like, it's huge. It's huge in scale. And every little piece of it there's all these moving pieces. It's so precise.
It's definitely the biggest number in the movie, next to the epilogue. Like, it's the most musical number of the movie, where everybody's singing, everybody's in colored clothing and jumping out of cars and all that. Like, that's like, I feel like it just started so high, but it obviously that's not what the whole movie is about. It's not supposed to be this whole high energy musical. It's supposed to be this genre musical. I mean, this honest story told as a musical, as an old not a contemporary musical. Sorry, like an old classic musical.
Yeah, I think Another Day of Sun kind of just serves as an introduction to the dreams that these aspiring actresses and musicians trying to make it in LA have.
Yeah.
It presents this dream to you, and then the rest of the movie kind of provides the commentary on that dream and kind of explains how it can be achievable, but not without sacrifice.
Yeah, I feel like each number is kind of like not actually happening. Like everybody's dream. Like how do I explain this? Like, since all of those people in the cars are dreamers trying to get to LA to become someone, I feel like they all kind of unite with this one dream. That's why they're all singing and dancing. That's why they're all...
Yeah.
They all can see this. And that's why I think Mia and Sebastian really connect. Because at first they don't like each other. And which is also kind of paying homage to the classic musicals, which is at first they don't like each other, but then...
Yeah, like Singing in the Rain.
Singing in the Rain, or even like the bandwagon... Not the bandwagon. Like the Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers movies.
Right.
But it's the musical number that they kind of both get into. Like, the music is kind of telling you that there's still a connection between the two of them. And then they both begin to start dancing their own separate tunes. And then all together they're kind of like into one pattern. And and so like
one synchronization.
Like one synchronization, I mean, sorry, not pattern. But I think it's the both... Because like I said, like they don't like each other, and they both can barely even stand each other, and then it's that moment.
The first interaction they have is flipping each other off.
Yeah, like, basically.
What other movie has a couple that's so intensely and passionately romantic that you can echo so strongly, but their first interaction is flipping each other off?
Yeah, great detriments. Not sorry, I don't know what I meant by that, but no, but I'm just saying, like, I think they both see through the music and through the dancing that they both have similar dreams and ambitions of wanting to become great. And that's shown through that great moment of A Lovely Night when they're on the hilltop dancing together. And again, not a single word is said. Barely any lyrics are said, which is in the beginning of the song, but it's shown through their physical dancing, through the camera work and how they work together. And at the end of it, they almost kind of like, it's like, they can't take their eyes off each other, which is great. So that's why I feel like every musical moment, it's like we're entering into their head and entering into their dream, rather than we're in a musical version of LA. It's more of, this is what we perceive LA to be, and then nope, this is the reality of what happens.
Yeah, it presents you this like idealistic depiction before slowly kind of, like we said earlier with Whiplash, like taking that away from you.
Yeah. But
Damien Chazelle goes, "Here's this nice thing you want. Just kidding.
Just
I killed
kidding.
it.
Yeah, I killed it. And
I
just
killed
steps
it
on
in
it
front of
multiple
you."
times and like blows it up, and your heart breaks while you see this happen. But
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, again, like I said with Whiplash, what can you say that hasn't already been said? I don't know if you have things to say about it that aren't said.
As far as like kind of the public perception of La La Land, I feel like when it came out, it was huge.
Yeah.
And it was this big deal of like, this is this new like big thing. It's a big deal. It's gonna win all these Oscars. It's gonna bring back the Hollywood musical. And then like 6 months after it came out, there started to be this kind of thing of people being like suddenly against it.
Yeah, like people were hating it.
It's weird. It's one of those things where it was so popular at first, and then it seems like everybody decided to be contrarian, and because everyone liked it, now everyone doesn't like it.
I'm so cool
I don't know
because I have a differing opinion from the public. It's like, I mean, it's fine if you don't like the movie. Like, if you don't like the movie,
Yeah, I mean,
that's fine. But I'm just saying, if you're
have
trying
your
to do
own
it to get views or trying to be cool, it's like, really? You know what I mean? Like, like, I totally get it. Like, there are some people that I know that don't care for it as much, but it's like, they understand why I love it personally. You know what I mean? Like, we can have a conversation about it. There's just some people, though, that I've talked with that just flat out hate the movie, and I'm like, I don't get why. Like, can you explain to me? And they're just like, oh, you're so
If only Alex was here this episode, because she has some hot takes on it we could have discussed with her.
Apparently,
But,
yeah.
that she's a great example, because I think I've noticed this pattern that I think is super interesting, and I would love to like try to understand better of theater people. See, people who are really into Broadway musicals don't seem to like this movie very much. At least in my experience, that's obviously a generalization.
Yeah.
But a lot of my friends who do theater in school, who study theater, who are trying to make it on Broadway, like, didn't really like this musical. But my friends who are really into film and want to study film very much did.
Yeah.
I wonder what the contrast is there. What I heard one person say, our good friend who shall not
be named,
I guess, for copyright reasons.
reasons.
I think you know what I'm talking about. Is she said, like, it's not really a musical. I was like, what do you mean it's not a musical? She was like, it doesn't have enough songs.
Yeah, but
I was like, but it has songs, so it's a musical.
No, yeah, but I mean, there's a point to the actual movie, because like the first half, I feel like, is a classic Hollywood musical. And then after the planetarium scene when they kiss, it just kind of comes into reality.
That's another great like dream sequence, kind of idealistic scene.
Oh, great scene. But it's like, because when they say, because I've heard that too, like, I would have loved the movie more if the music wasn't in it. And I'm like, well, you're kind of taking away the point of the movie, which is that the fact that they're basically using the musical as a way to show the expectations and reality of dreams versus reality. You know what I mean? And it's not like it's supposed to be I don't know, An American in Paris, or supposed to be Singing in the Rain or West Side Story, where every scene has a musical number. This is
I mean, the first half is, and then the second half is supposed to be kind of a rebuttal to that.
Yeah, and it's basically just kind of just saying, yeah, like our expectations for what we have, not just for musicals, but for LA and for the things that we want to do in life and what we really need to do and what really is at stake here. And
really just for artistic fulfillment in general.
Yeah. So it's not a dumb everything's happy musical. Like Thoroughly Modern Millie has like a total cliche storyline. But that doesn't matter. Like, you're at the theater there for the performances, there for the music, for the actual spectacle of it. And here at the movies,
now trashing a musical that we were both in together.
Yeah, I love the musical. Don't get me wrong, but it's total cliche story. But
sure.
But that's not the point of like a Broadway musical. You know what I mean? Like, they're not supposed to be that. They're supposed to be spectacle driven. They're supposed to be singing driven and all that. Even like Les Miserables, which is not that great of a movie in my opinion, but it has like great moments that only could work on Broadway. And I think, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it. We could rewatch it someday, but I mean, I feel like people, when they say that, they were expecting a musical like Singing in the Rain, An American in Paris, or even like the classic Broadway musicals where every scene is like heightened and everything is and it's not a heightened movie. Like Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling's performances are very modern day, very natural, authentic and natural.
I think Singing in the Rain is my second favorite movie of all time. I love Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
But the point you're making is true, that there's a place for escapism and there's a place for realism, and I think the best of both Broadway and film blends those two really well. Mm-hmm. And I think La La Land is a great example of that, because there's plenty of great escapism in this movie, and there's also plenty of, real heartbreaking realism.
Yeah, and that's the point of the movie. Like, if you take out the music and the musical aspect, then it's just going to be another romance movie where they don't end up together. It's just a bummer movie. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But I don't know if another director could balance those two elements as well as Damien Chazelle does, because it could have been messy. It could have been inconsistent, and it could have been like,
it could have sucked.
Some of this is escapist fantasy and some of it is like brutally real.
Yeah. And one thing that I noticed that was like really great was how well it transitions from speaking normally to music to song. Like, it's like some musicals today, it's like, oh, we're having a musical number, okay, that's fine, you're taking out of it.
It just comes up really abruptly.
Whereas here it was a natural transition to the song. Like, you can kind of hear the music in the background getting louder, and the sets almost getting more colorful, and the costumes getting more what do you call it? I guess in tone and in match with the background and everything. But that's another thing that I think the movie does very well, that it's able to blend when you're going into an escapist moment, and then bam, back to reality, which is great. I feel like every musical number kind of goes bam, this is reality again. Every single one, in my opinion. But
definitely, especially the second one.
What is it?
What's that one called?
I'm trying to remember. Someone in the Crowd.
Yeah, Someone in the Crowd is like slowly kind of gets more and more like fantastical, and by the end of it, you're like, oh, I get it. Like, this is fantasy. Like, this has become fully fantasy, and then it has that really abrupt cut at the end after the fireworks, back to like
her like
reality.
Her car being towed away.
Yeah.
And that's another great moment, that because like the movie really is basically just like, not only is it a love letter to LA, I think it's trashing it in a way, because like there's that scene is basically talking about how like you kind of need to sleep with someone in order to kind of get your foot in the door, or at least like show yourself in a way that you really wouldn't.
And you have to like get into the institution.
Yeah, and it's kind of gross, like when you think about it, like, and but it's presented in this fantasy escapist way.
Every shot in this movie is so meticulously planned.
It's gorgeous.
And like, as opposed to Whiplash and First Man, which are meant to look really authentic, it looks like, I don't know, I watch this movie and every time I notice more and more I didn't notice before, and I keep seeing these shots where I'm like, how did Damien do this? How did he plan this? This looks phenomenal. I love the colors in this movie. That kind of purple, that consistently like purple tone throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm. And like the use of like not headlights. What is it? Do you notice like
street lamps?
Street lamps. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like there's like added street lamps. Mm-hmm. Great little touches like that. Yeah.
Which is kind of another callback to Golden Age musicals, especially like Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, like before they do Lovely Night, Ryan basically twirls around the street, like the lamp, like in Singing in the Rain. That's like, it's
Gene
great.
Kelly style, baby.
Total Gene Kelly thing. Yeah. And but yeah, again, for me, I think the ending is what really solidifies not just the themes, but the fact from making it a good movie to like a great movie. At least the first time I saw it, it was like, oh, this is what it was going for. Holy crap, I didn't know that. You know what I mean? And for a musical, like especially a movie trying to pay homage to the classic musicals, to end that way is so ballsy. Especially now when there's like barely anything original, or at least like there are obviously original things and you kind of need to look for them. But in terms of it being mainstream, of it being this big, it's like so, especially a musical, an original musical with new songs.
I think a lot of people didn't like the ending just because it's unsatisfying. Like my mom. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mrs. Sleepies. Yes, Mrs. Incredible is.
Yeah, I love the ending. I mean, I think it's the whole point. I think it's like the movie does not work without the ending. Otherwise, it's just fantasy.
It's just fantasy. Another escapist movie.
Yeah.
But no,
and
the
that's
ending.
What I'm saying. I don't love escapism.
Yeah.
I'm literally sitting under a poster. I'm looking around my room right now. I've got 4 big movie posters. One of them's Whiplash, and the other 3 are like total escapist.
I see Singing in the Rain,
Raiders,
which is an escapist movie.
Singing in the
Raiders
Rain,
is a
and
total
Baby Driver.
escapist. Baby Driver is a
little
total.
bit less escapist, but it's still like fun and stylized.
Yeah, that's more stylized.
So not to say I don't love escapism, but there's a place for it, and there's also a place for showing you the reality. And like we were saying, I think Damien Chazelle like makes those one place and like blends them really well.
Yeah, for sure.
So what would you rate La La Land then?
Oh, 10 out of 10 by far. It's easily top 5 favorite film of all time.
Wow, I feel weird giving 2 films in a row 10 out of 10 on this podcast. It feels like it should be rarer than that, but I think I'll give it a 10 out of 10 as well. It's definitely in my top 20.
Yeah, I mean, it just hits home. You know what I mean? Like it's also just about how you're always gonna have a certain soft spot for that person that first person you felt truly connected with, and how you're just never gonna forget them. You know what I mean? And you're always gonna love them. And like I said, it may not be there in practical terms, but the love is still there. And what happened, I mean, that's more than enough. And it's every time I watch it, it breaks my heart. Definitely. Especially when you've gone through heartbreak yourself. It's just like,
yeah,
like it hurts. It really hurts. But 10 out of 10. My personal favorite of his so far. I wonder what Babylon.
If Alex was here, she would probably not give it a 10 out of 10.
Probably
She'd
not,
give
but
it like maybe a 7 or an 8.
Yeah, that's fine. Still really high.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's her opinion also. There's nothing wrong with that.
We'll just submit that score for her.
We secretly put a 9. No, but
to no one, like
to
for no
one.
purpose.
Yeah,
just for us to feel better.
Some random old man.
Yeah.
Okay. We are transitioning to Damien's final film. At least for
not
now.
Not final, but latest.
Latest film, at
Hopefully
least.
not final.
Hopefully not final, because Babylon is coming soon, and I'm looking forward to that.
That's true.
But his latest film, First Man. Do you want to introduce it, Kolby?
I mean, it came out in 2018. It's the story of Neil Armstrong, which everyone knows, first man on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
For a second, I had to do a double take there and be like, did I say the right name, or did I say Lance Armstrong?
Buzz Aldrin.
Or Stretch
Armstrong. Stretch Armstrong. Buzz Lightyear.
Neil Armstrong.
Chewbacca.
Who's played by Ryan Gosling.
Yes.
It's like we were saying earlier, it's a really intimate, really personal film, which is, it's strange for a movie like this, because I think we go into it expecting it to be like a Chris Nolan movie.
Yeah.
And parts, there are parts in space that look great, but I don't think anybody expected this to be as much of a character study as it turned out to be.
Yeah, which is part of the reason why I think it's very underrated. And not just because of that. Back in when the movie was being released, there was this stupid controversy of the flag, the American flag not being shown, and everybody thought it was this political statement, and thought trying to say, oh, this was a world, like an Earth achievement, not a U.S. achievement. Which no, it was a U.S. achievement.
But I think once the movie came out is when people realized
that's not the point of the movie. It's not supposed to be this.
Yeah, it wasn't a political
movie.
Sentiment at all. In fact, I don't think you even noticed the lack of the American flag on the moon.
You don't,
I think,
because that's not the point of it. Like, obviously the flag is there. There's a shot of the flag there.
Yeah, but you don't see him putting it in the ground because that's not important to
what the story that's being told. The
character arc in this movie, which is basically about him and his family.
Yeah, I think people were expecting a total biopic of us going to the moon, and like the movie ending.
They wanted They wanted Apollo 13.
They wanted Apollo 13. They wanted Bohemian Rhapsody. They wanted all these typical.
Yeah. And they ended up
biopic.
with Space Whiplash.
Basically, yeah.
Sad Space Whiplash.
A sad space whiplash. Yeah. What do you have to? What are your thoughts on the movie, Kolby?
I mean, well, you were talking about earlier about that ending with them just staring at each other. I mean, I think it's maybe most powerful in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Him and his wife, played by
Claire Foy.
Yes, Claire Foy. Thank you. I thought she was robbed of an Oscar, man. I mean, I don't think she even got nominated, if I remember correctly.
She didn't.
She was so good in this movie. I think she gave the best performance. And, man, I mean, they both. I don't want to say chemistry is the right word, because it's a lot more heavy than that, and it's not really like a cute romantic.
No.
But just them together were so powerful, her and Ryan Gosling.
It felt like an honest married couple.
Yeah, and they really, really struggled.
Yeah.
Both with their own family losses and with
him being so closed off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ryan Gosling really plays Neil Armstrong as not like a charismatic guy, which is so not what people expected. Like, he's really a meek,
introverted,
kind of very internal guy.
Yeah.
But then there's one scene where he's left alone, finally, and he just breaks down.
Great scene. Great scene.
Such a great scene. And it's one of the ones that's filmed in a really kind of shaky cam, soft focus way. Another one is a scene of him playing with his kids that I love. And it's funny, I think we got a tiny glimpse of that style in the end of La La Land with that kind of little dream sequence of them with their kids filming like home movies.
Oh yeah, like
he kind of took that style that he used for that one little clip in La La Land and then used it for this whole movie.
Yeah. Or like just how the style of him with Guy and Madeline. Because like apparently I looked up, he studied documentary filmmaking at Harvard. Like that's what
interesting.
That's what the kind of films that he was making. So it totally reflects
he shoots
on
this one like a documentary.
The Eddy and First Man and a little bit of La La Land and even a little bit of Whiplash.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that.
No, yeah, I love this movie. I absolutely love it because it's not just. I feel like it's a very introverted movie about the most extroverted event in all of history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People obviously, I think, were kind of expecting Freddie Mercury for like Ryan Gosling or like someone like Tom Hanks and Apollo 13 or something like that. And that's not what's given here at all. It's an honest portrayal of an actual introverted man. Like Neil Armstrong was actually like that. He was very closed off. He was very quiet and all to himself. He was never like in the spotlight. He was always like saying it was everyone else's contribution. All he's doing is he's just a part of the team. Like I don't deserve all the spotlight.
He was really selfless.
He was very selfless.
And I think because of that, the losses that he experienced in this story like hit him so much harder. And because it's so much in his very like personal perspective, they hit you really hard too. For sure, yeah. And I mean, I think that's a part of the reason why the movie didn't do so well at the box office. One, because people were trying to boycott it for that stupid controversy that didn't even need to be there. And I think also because people were just kind of turned off by how slow the movie is. I mean, there's a difference between slow and boring, though. It's a slow movie, but it's definitely engaging. Like, for me personally, at least. Like, it's 2.5 hours long. And as someone who is very also introverted, who is very closed off at moments, I really connected with how Ryan played Neil. It's like, I know how you're feeling, bro. Like, I know exactly. Like, I don't know, like, for me personally, it was just like, I don't know, I guess it was just kind of like an honest portrayal of how an introverted person would react to these crazy circumstances. Yeah. I think out of his three movies, it's probably the least consistently emotionally resonant, which is why people kind of felt like they couldn't engage with it. And that's fair. I engaged with it. I thought it was very like emotionally fulfilling, but I think for a lot of people, because it was slow and steady and intimate, and they weren't used to that from Damien Chazelle because he's been so like stylistic before.
Yeah.
then they were kind of turned off by that, and they couldn't engage with it, and they couldn't resonate with it too much. But I think to resonate with it as much as I did is such an accomplishment for a guy like Neil Armstrong. Like, for him to take this mythic figure and make him so vulnerable and human, like so incredibly vulnerable, I think that's like such a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, definitely. Especially like with an event like going to the moon, which none of us can relate to, and just make it basically.
Well, speak for yourself, Seb.
Oh, whatever. But
I have a vacation home.
No, but I mean, basically the whole movie is just kind of about him trying to get over the death of his daughter.
Yeah.
And the only way for him is to get to the moon. You know what I mean? Like, that's when he's able to truly move on. Like, oh my God, that scene. And it's not 100% accurate. Not because it was dramatized, but because we don't know for sure. Right. But at some moment, Neil actually... Because, like, the entire mission of going to the moon was pre-planned. Everything was scheduled. Everything was rehearsed of them stepping into certain places, getting certain rocks and stuff like that. But at some point, Neil, the actual thing, he did go to a crater for, like, 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And when he came back, there's a photo of him in the ship, teary-eyed.
Right.
And so his sister and even his family say they like to believe that he did leave something of his daughter, right. Karen, I think, right?
Which is why they put that in the movie.
Which is probably like
that scene where he lets go of the bracelet.
The bracelet.
Like,
that's oh God, tears. Tears are going down the first time.
Yeah, Damien Chazelle's really good at making you have fun and then punching you in the gut.
And just punching you in the gut. And just having an emotionally satisfying ending. It's just...
Yeah. Where two people stare at each other.
And you just get it. And you're transported by it. I also really love how good the visual effects are in this movie.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, they're subtle.
Yeah.
And I think I remember, at first in 2018... thinking to myself, like, why would they give best VFX to this? Like, you can't even tell there's VFX. But it's like, oh, that's
the point.
Like, yeah. Like, it's not most VFX. It's best VFX, and the best VFX are the ones that blend in with the movie and support the story.
Yeah. Like, I remember you were saying, like, why didn't Infinity War win? Like, that was, like, amazing. Like, Thanos looked great. And I'm like, well, as great as it is, it's a special effect. You know what I mean? Like, like, all that. Like, as much as Thanos looks like he's there... for a fact in your head that's a visual effect.
But in First Man, I still probably couldn't point out to you every single VFX shot because most of them look practical.
I think like some of it were practical, like how
I think a lot of it used miniatures. Yeah,
like they used miniatures. They used like how Christopher Nolan uses like for Interstellar, like they use like actual. They built ships and then they made like IMAX screens of what they were seeing and everything, and it's great. Like it was barely used any CGI. It felt. Mm-hmm. And when it was like CG, it looked amazing. Like when they're on the moon, it looked like they were on the moon. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's a really authentic movie, even though its subject matter is so broad. And I think that's what's really impressive about it.
And a part of it, what helps with it feeling so authentic is the fact that they're using like the documentary style of filmmaking. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's not like because I don't think there's ever a point. I mean, like when they're launching into the space, that you kind of see it from outside of the rocket. It's inside of the cockpit where they're at, and the camera's just shaking, and you hear everything. You hear you feel like it's going to explode, and that they're going to die.
Because you've seen ships explode earlier in this movie.
Yeah, that too. And it takes place in the 60s when this was like things were barely advancing to that point, And so you're always kind of feeling on edge, like that moment when... before they go, not before they go to the moon, but it's like at some point in the middle when they go on Gemini, and the entire time it's kind of filmed in his POV, and everything's shaking, all the walls are creaking, you hear like nails falling, even there was a fly even inside the cockpit, and like all those little details. it just feels like you're in a small atomic bomb. It's crazy. And like, I don't know, like, I feel like we haven't really seen that perspective, at least when it comes to space movies. Like, when it comes to space movies, it's all about the spectacle and the awesome look of, like, and then there's definitely moments of that in this movie, like when you see the moon and when you see, like, when they see the Gemini ship, but it's more of, like, the terror of going into space, and it's done really, really well.
Definitely.
No, but yeah, I think this movie is very underrated because people gave it. People don't dislike it. It was nominated for some Oscars, and it got great reviews. And from the friends that have seen it, do like it a lot. But I think it's really high, like, especially when you have made movies like Whiplash and La La Land, you're gonna have, like, high expectations for your next film. Definitely. And it's as much as it is a different film, at least visually and tonally from all the movies, in terms of themes, they're similar. Like, what does it mean to have success? How far are you willing to go? Like, he's neglecting his family almost the entire movie. Not neglecting, but he's very distant, especially from his wife, because of the loss of his daughter.
Their relationship is really, really, really affected by how hard he has to work to get to the moon.
Yeah, and so the great counterbalance of him being so cut off from reality, or, like, cut off from anything personal. There's his wife, who is basically the emotional. How would you say? She's the one that really brings in the emotion for the movie and for the audience. Like,
I think Claire Foy serves as a really good kind of heart of the film. Like, if Ryan Gosling is the backbone, she's kind of the heart.
For sure. Definitely. That's a great way to put it.
I think she really deserved more recognition for that movie.
Yeah. And I think even Ryan, too. Like, he does, like, great, subtle twitches.
He's really subtle. It's one of the most subdued performances I've seen.
And
so good.
I really dislike when people say, "Oh, he's bad. Like, he's bad at this movie. All he does is stare, and he doesn't say." And it's like, okay, but I think it's harder, in my opinion, to act subtle, and then to just be all explosive. Like, no offense to Leonardo DiCaprio, I love him, but early on, all he would do is yell and scream and pretend like, "Oh, look at me, I'm an actor." Whereas Ryan, not just in this movie, but I believe, like, in a lot of his movies, he's very subtle and very laid back, and, like, just his eyes and just, like, the twitches that he does and the subtle things that he does with his hands, or even, like, his movements, you get it. And I think that's, like, that's hard to achieve. I think
big flashy performances are so much more entertaining, and they're more obvious, so they feel like those are the best performances. But subtle performances are way harder.
I think so, yeah.
And I'm obviously not comparing myself to Ryan Gosling, but, like, all I'm saying is, like, in acting experience that I've had, the performances where all I've had to do is run around and scream and be big, like, took no effort from me. But those are the ones that people told me were my best performances. And, you know, it's a compliment, it's nice, but it sucks because I'm like, that kind of sucks because I put a lot more work into this other performance that was much more subtle and subdued and quiet, you know? Yeah. That took a lot more of an emotional toll.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of it is underrated. The performances, the score. I love the score in this movie. It's like a great harp of his daughter's theme. Do 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 do. It's a great, and then they use it again, like, in an epic way when he's landing on the moon. It's amazing. Yeah, it's great. Again, Justin Hurwitz. We haven't talked about Justin Hurwitz. Justin Hurwitz is freaking talented.
How have we gone through this whole episode not talking about Justin Hurwitz? He's an incredible composer. He's one of the best currently working composers there is. He's Damien Chazelle's right-hand man. He's amazing.
For sure. Steven Spielberg, John Williams, right there. But
yeah.
The next Spielberg and John Williams. But Justin, like, he could totally, like, do you remember the score to Bohemian Rhapsody? Do you remember the score to Apollo 13? You know, like, all these biopic movies?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're kind of just basic. and by the numbers. Here,
Mm-hmm.
they're not like, oh, this is just a biopic. Let's just make whatever kind of music. Like, they put effort into creating a theme for each moment and a character, and for each, like, especially at the end in the quarantine with the harp playing again.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's great. Like, it's, people really forget the power that music has, especially for movies. You know what I mean?
Because sometimes the best music is, in a movie like this, the one that isn't too noticeable.
Yeah.
It's the one that feels like it is actually a part of the environment. Like, it feels like I'm not listening to music, I'm hearing what the characters are feeling.
Yeah, that's what music's supposed to be. And not supposed to be like, this is how you're supposed to feel sad. It's just like, this is what the character is feeling. And this is just our musical way of expressing how they're feeling. You know what I mean? It's great. It didn't overuse it.
I think that's something that Morricone did well.
There you go, Ennio Morricone. Or
Yeah,
Ennio
we'll call that.
Morricone or Ennio Morricone?
I think it's Morricone.
Sir, if we have butchered, I know you are dead, but if we have butchered your name, you can haunt us for all you
Can
can.
smite us down from heaven.
You can smite us
We
down from
deserve
heaven,
it,
yes.
Because you are a legend.
Yes, amen.
Final rating for First Man?
Very underrated, amazing movie. It's not a total typical biopic. It's a movie that will stick with you, and very intimate, not by the numbers at all. Like, you think it's going to end with this great grandiose of them on the moon and anything, and it's not. It's very, very almost sad.
Yeah, the ending is him coming back home and reconnecting with his wife. And they stare at each other and they don't say anything.
It's not at the end where he puts the flag on the moon and there's a great wide shot and then bam, cut to black. Yeah. It's like they're on the moon for 5 minutes in the movie.
Because really, the journey for him, once he actually gets into space, the journey is how to get back and like be with his wife again.
That's it, yeah. And so it's amazing movie. I overall I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I would go 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. We did it.
Damien Chazelle.
Daddy Chazelle.
A good man.
You've done it again. I cannot wait for Babylon. Let's see how that goes. If that ever comes out.
If movies still exist.
Oh, that's so sad. This stupid pandemic needs to stop.
So before we take off, what you been watching this week, Zeb?
Yesterday I watched Woody Allen's Manhattan. I know you don't like
your Letterboxd review.
Yeah.
And I agree with you.
Yeah. I know you probably didn't like it more than I did. I liked the movie, but because like I'm someone that can separate the artist and the art.
Sure.
Like Roman Polanski, terrible human being. I absolutely love his movies. The Pianist is one of the best movies ever made, in my opinion. I love Chinatown. Same with Woody Allen. Terrible human being. He's a creep. I absolutely adore Annie Hall. Midnight in Paris is wonderful. Manhattan has moments that are great.
Has its moments.
But holy crap, that love interest is not good. It's creepy. Yeah. He's 42 in the movie. She's 17.
The whole time I watched that movie, I just couldn't help but think that Woody Allen thinks he's so hot.
I thought that too, because his ex-wife is Meryl Streep.
Yeah, he writes this script that's basically all about like how much of a great ladies' man this character is, and then it's like, who's gonna play the character, Woody? Oh, that'll be me. I wrote this character for myself. Meryl Streep's my ex-wife. This hot young chick wants me so bad. Like it's.
And I'm having like I'm gonna be with Diane Keaton, who's very pretty also, but
right.
Like.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Diane Keaton in that movie.
Yeah, they're great in the movie. Like I said, like besides that, the whole thing with the young girl, the whole thing that he's basically in a relationship with his friend's mistress, I thought it was great. Like I love the writing of the movie. Obviously, I love the chemistry. The cinematography was gorgeous. I think like on an episode or two, you were saying how you don't think
I mentioned how I didn't love that it was in black and white.
Yeah,
I didn't feel like it needed to be.
I would have to disagree because I feel like what Woody Allen was trying to do was trying to pay an homage to how he viewed New York and the beauty of it in black and white. Like, I feel like New York is not a very colorful city. I don't think
There's
so.
a lot of New York movies in black and white.
Yeah, like, I can't picture Paris in black and white all that much, at least in certain areas. Like, I see Paris like with its great lights and colors,
Sure.
or even LA. But New York seems very much like, especially like the classic photos of like them building the Empire State Building, all that stuff. It's all in black and white, and it really captures the beauty within the grimy. And I think that's
true.
that's what he was trying to do. Like, especially the first 5 minutes of the movie, great shots, which he used again in Midnight in Paris. With have you seen Midnight in Paris?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, great movie, love that movie. But yeah, Manhattan. I enjoy it, but yeah, I can tell that he was so full of himself in this one, and again, that young love interest was not cute at all. I was cringing the entire time. I'm like, this is weird. But overall, I'd give it a 6 out of 10.
All
So
right.
yeah, which is pretty high, but it's like, it could have easily been like a 9 or even a 10, like I said in my Letterboxd review. But oh well, that's too bad. What have you been seeing?
Well, I've been looking out for new films on streaming and stuff, because I need new movies. So I've been watching a lot of really good stuff. I would recommend Big Time Adolescence on Hulu.
Oh yeah,
Shirley on Hulu. Hulu's really killing it this year.
Yeah.
Blow the Man Down and Miss Juneteenth are on Amazon. The Vast of Night is on Amazon. Relic, I saw it at Drive-In. It was fantastic.
Nice.
A lot of great new kind of small movies coming out. The big one I'd recommend, which is also on Hulu, and I would say is my favorite new release of this year so far, is actually a documentary called The Painter and the Thief.
Oh, okay.
I really want to put that name out there because I feel like nobody's seeing it, but it's a really, really fascinating documentary about how this painter actually befriends a guy who stole one of her paintings.
Whoa.
And kind of helps him better his life.
Okay.
And they learn a lot from each other. It's really beautiful. I was really excited to see it because, 2020 has been a bummer of a year for movies, and I felt like
Sadly.
I need a great movie to call my favorite. I need something that like really is meaningful to me, and I think I found it with this one.
Nice.
So I really recommend Painter and the Thief. Check that out on Hulu. Also in the last 2 weeks, is for like old stuff, I finally got around to marathoning all of Jacques Tati's movies.
I haven't seen any of his movies. Are they good?
Yeah, Seb, I think you would really love them. They're really definitely up your alley. But I bought the Criterion Collection set, which is usually super expensive, so I couldn't get it before, but I finally found a great deal on it.
Nice.
So I watched all 6 of his feature films and a couple of his short films. He is definitely one of my favorite directors now. I hope we'll talk about him in a future episode, but he's
we'll
really
see. He has a
fantastic
collection, right?
Yeah, there's a Criterion Collection with every one of his feature films. There's only 6 of them.
Okay.
There's one in there called Mon Oncle, which might be my personal favorite. And I swear to God, I've never heard this before. I haven't heard anybody talk about it, but I am 100% sure that it was like the biggest inspiration for Parasite because the parallels are uncanny.
Really?
Yeah.
Like Rich and
there's a
Poor
lot,
and stuff?
Yeah, it's less dramatic than Parasite, but it's basically the exact same idea as a comedy, just as like a kind of absurdist comedy.
Okay.
There's a lot of parallels both in the story and also just visually, like small little details like the little kid in Parasite with the big Native American headdress. That's in Mon Oncle. Stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, super interesting. I really recommend it.
Oh, okay. Hopefully in the future I'll try and check them out. No, yeah, I did recently go to Barnes & Noble and got some Criterion movies. So I rewatched Being John Malkovich. Have you heard about that?
I haven't seen it yet. I want to.
It's amazing.
Because I love adaptations.
It's so weird, but it's great. That one, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, I bought that. Great movie. Hopefully we can talk about that another time. And Don't Look Now. Have you heard about that one? A horror film?
I don't know if
Nicholas
I have.
Roeg. It's basically the original Hereditary, and that it's about the horrors of losing a family member, and how like it's basically in the beginning. It has Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie, and they lose their daughter. She drowns in a pond or a river or something outside of their house, and the whole movie is basically about them just kind of trying to deal with it, as they're both on a holiday in Italy, but also like there for work. And at some point, two women who are psychics say, "I've seen your daughter. You have no reason to be sad." Like,
that doesn't like Hereditary.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's basically just a psychological thriller of them
really
dealing with it. And it's one of the best edited movies I've seen. But it's definitely, it's both weird. It's weird. It's like it's of its time, but it's still cool. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah, overall I'd give it like 8 out of 10 or something.
Have you seen Blithe Spirit?
Which one?
Blithe Spirit.
No.
It's a movie based on an old Noel Coward play. It's a kind of a similar concept, but totally just as a comedy.
Oh, really?
I watched it a couple weeks ago, I think after we recorded the last one. It's so funny.
Yeah?
It's a really great kind of classical comedy, but it's about a guy who is just married to his new wife. They just get home from their honeymoon, and then his ex-wife who died shows up as a ghost.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, that sounds great.
It's really funny. I recommend it. It's on HBO Max.
Oh, okay. I'll check it out when I can.
So, speaking of Hulu...
that we talked about
Let's pretend I was talking about Hulu.
Yes.
Speaking of Hulu, another new movie that just came out and is kind of making a big splash right now is Palm Springs.
Splash.
Pool. There's a pool
pun.
in that movie. I've watched it twice now. Seb hasn't watched it yet, but we are going to be talking about it in the next episode, and we're going to be giving our thoughts on Palm Springs and talking about our favorite rom-coms.
Yes.
So we will see you then. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yes. Thank you, guys. A lot of fun. Take care.
Bye-bye.